to Coach first, Coach Smith. Just talk about why this game is so huge for not just for your program, but the SWAC conference as a whole, and minority coaches all over the country at every division of college basketball, especially coming off of last season where a number of games against high majors were canceled due to the pandemic and COVID.
I mean, it's a big game for our program because we prepare every game. I mean, obviously, as coach speak, every game is an important game. But obviously, with it being Michigan, not so much the Big Ten, because I think they've kind of separated themselves from a lot of programs. I think they're the best program in the Big Ten over the last couple of years. So, just the quality of players that they have is big for our kids every year. You want to give them an opportunity, to compete against, young men that have been recognized as some of the best players at their positions in the country. But also for us, it's a teaching point that, and again, they've got great players, very good players. A lottery pick from last year, guys that are all over the NBA rosters. And Coach Howard's done a great job in developing those guys and mentally and physically for the next level. But I'm pretty sure there's probably some guys that are probably there that probably not much different than some of our guys. But for whatever reason, we'll get a lot of transfers, but it could have been just, the luck of the draw that young man went to Michigan and this young man came to Prairie View. So for us, just for our guys to be able to compete against guys that have a big name on the front of their shirt, but maybe not a lot of difference in talent, outside of the top 5, 6, 7, or 8 players in this rotation. So from that end, I think it's good for our guys to get to compete. Again, for me personally, as I touched on earlier, an opportunity to compete against someone that I feel has done the best coaching job in the country the last few years in the short time he's been at Michigan. So it's big for me personally as a coach, and I can continue to learn and grow by watching him and maybe having an opportunity to speak with him a little bit. And just for our institution, being at HBCU, obviously there's a big push, with social justice and things like that. So us having a platform to be able to continue the conversation and be a representative of a historically Black college and university. And again, as Coach Howard said, it's not just all African Americans here. I mean, we have a lot of different, nationalities here. But I just think just being, in a position to, have a place at the table and represent the great game of basketball and help Prairie View at the same time, I think it's huge.
I'll be able to come back and, look to put on a show in front of their home crowd.
Well, it's beautiful to get an opportunity to come back to the nation's capital. I consider, that city is one of the cities that adopted me. Like the coach touched on earlier, I got my first NBA shot at playing for the Washington Bullets, and then we moved on, became the Washington Wizards. So I was there for almost 7 years. So I'm very familiar with the area. I'm also familiar with the young talent that has came through that city before me, after me, and now currently. And so when Hunter Dickinson as well as Terrence Williams was playing for, one was playing for Gonzaga, the other one playing for DeMatha, had a chance to see some of their games and felt that they fit, our culture. And then now currently as they are on the team and just watching their growth, it's been beautiful. And I've learned a lot from them too. So I think it's great that they get an opportunity to come back home to play in front of their families and friends. But most importantly, I think it's great for the entire team to get a chance to come back to DC. And while we're there, we're going to take time out of our schedule and go visit the National Museum of African American History, just so our guys can, we talk about educating and teaching, so they get a chance to see, some of the beautiful history of what has been before us and those that are currently and what they're doing as far as the impact they're having on not just on the African American community, but also people in life in general. So it's going to be not only a competitive game, but it's going to be a educational trip for all of us, and we're looking forward to it.
Let me take this. Yeah, let me take this question, please. Sorry about that, guys. So when we chose the teams, okay, we chose the teams and we interviewed. Originally this was going to be a 6 and 8 team event. And, we chose the teams based on the conversations that I actually initially had with coaches, because I just wanted to get an idea of what their thoughts were and wanted that to be organic, right? I don't want to predetermine who to allow to play in an inaugural event. And, based on those conversations that I had with Coach Howard and Coach Smith, those were the two that, we decided that made the most sense. Okay. It didn't matter if those coaches were white or black, to be honest with you. Okay. This is not a white or black event. Okay. It's a coaches versus racism and other issues event. Okay. And I know sometimes when it gets misconstrued when you see the word racism, but that racism word means so many more things. Okay. Whether it's, you look at Chinese people are being, racially profiled. You got the lesbian and gay communities being racially profiled. So it's a wide range of topics that we can tackle with this. And I don't want to make it about a black on black coaches event or anything like that. This is a world problem. Okay. But we'll start with our nation and at our nation's capital. The second question I'll answer is yes, we'll have this is an inaugural event, but we'll have more events. We already have slated next year in Vegas. We'll probably have 8 teams. We're also trying to organize one there in Houston and then Miami. So our goal is to try to have the same model as Coaches versus Cancer. I just feel like Dickie V and ESPN has done a really good job with promoting that event. And I think it's a great template for us to take baby steps to grow our event the same way and to keep the narrative alive.
Want to welcome everybody to the 230th episode of the Focus TV. Joined as always, Octavia Wyatt. We got Raymond Lyons, Cardell Dudley Jr., and Wilson Tarpe Jr. The clips that you guys just saw, in case you didn't get it, as a gentleman so kindly laid out at the end of it. It's the 2021 Coaches vs. Racism event. It's the inaugural event. It's happening in November. Cardell will give you guys a little bit more on that later. We got a lot to get through tonight. We'll start with Octavia's NFC East segment. Keith's back with the Pac-12, so Octavia, the floor is yours.
Yes, so some weird things happened in NFC East this week. The Cowboys didn't win, which is kind of weird, but that's because they didn't play. Sure, if they played, they would have won at this point. So, but they were on a bye this week. The other teams played this week, and it was pretty much the same results except for one team. So we'll go ahead and get started. First, we'll talk about the Washington football team who played against the Green Bay Packers this week. They lost to the Packers 24-10. Tyler Heineke was 25 of 37, 268 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and 10 carries for 95 yards. Antonio Gibson had 14 carries for 51 yards and 2 receptions for 5 yards. And then Terry McLaurin had 7 receptions for 122 yards and 1 touchdown. I feel like this is a repeat of last week where the Washington football team played pretty well or decent in the first half, but then second half, it's like they forgot everything. Although at the end of the first half in this game, they did let them get in a touchdown right with a couple seconds left on the clock to Allen Lazard. But their third straight loss. Green Bay is on a 6-game winning streak after losing their first game to the New Orleans Saints. But the biggest issue in this game was just bad execution on the Washington football team's part. They were in the red zone pretty much most of the day. They didn't have much issues with moving the ball up and down the field. Their biggest issues was actually scoring in the red zone. Their one touchdown that they scored was a 40-yard touchdown to Terry McLaurin. Again, I say this every week, and I'm going to keep saying it. Tyler Heineke is not the answer. I don't care how well he plays in certain games. It's just not enough. I just can't see it. But what makes it even worse is before Sunday, the Packers' opponents have scored touchdowns every time they reached the red zone. Every single time this year, somebody was in the red zone against the Green Bay Packers, they scored. Unfortunately, the Washington football team was not able to do that after being in the red zone 3 times. They went 0-3 in the red zone. And again, it's poor execution. Taylor Heineke, I guess he was scared for his life, even though there was nobody in front of him. He decided to take a knee before he went into the end zone. A lot of people are saying, he wasn't touched, but again, he's a quarterback. It looks like he's giving himself up. That is the rule. Protecting quarterbacks, that's what they want to do. So you got to follow the rule. Should have just kind of not, I don't know why he did that, honestly. There was nobody even around him. And then after that, they went forward on 4th down, and he didn't get the touchdown there either. Again, it's just bad. The defense was okay in the first half again. But outside of Alan Sweat and Matt Ioannidis were their best pass rushers that day. Again, Chase Young had another kind of quiet game. I'm really not sure what's going on with him. We see him every now and then. He'll have a breakout performance or whatever you want to call it. It just has not been consistent enough this year, and it's just not getting it done. For them to, like I said, they scored 7 in the first quarter, and that was it. The defense wasn't able to really do too much more to stop Green Bay. We know that, Devontae Adams is Rodgers' go-to, but he was able to push the ball to Lazard. He was able to get it to Tanyan on a deep throw. So the struggles on the defensive side, especially in the secondary, are still going on for the Washington football team. Next week, they'll play against the Broncos. So we shall see how that fares for them. I will keep comments to myself because I don't know what's going to happen. You never know what the heck is going to happen. But I honestly don't feel like they're going to do too much, but who knows, again, with your Washington football team. Another team that never does enough as well is the Philadelphia Eagles. They played against the Raiders this week, lost 33-22. Jalen Hurts was 18-34, 236 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 13 carries for 61 yards. Miles Sanders had 6 carries for 30 yards. Boston Scott, haven't heard about him in a while, 7 carries for 24 yards and 1 touchdown. Kenneth Gainwell had 5 carries for 20 yards and 4 receptions for 41 yards and 1 touchdown. Dallas Goedert had 3 receptions for 70 yards, and then Jalen Reagor had 2 receptions, 25 yards, and 1 touchdown. It's just atrocious. It's just bad. I don't know what happens. It's like, it's kind of similar to, it's the opposite of what the Washington football team is doing. The Washington football team is coming out and starting well and having a good first half, and then they slack in the second half. For the Philadelphia Eagles, it's the complete opposite. They come out and in this one game, the first opening drive, they were able to go down and score the touchdown to Kenneth Gainwell. But after that, there was nothing else to really talk about in the first half. They decided to kind of wake up again in the second half, again, after the Raiders scored 30 straight points, which is crazy. Derek Carr finished 31-34 for 323 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he set a career high for single game completions. It was just bad. After the initial touchdown for the Eagles, their next 6 possessions ended in a punt, a fumble, end of the half, a punt, and a fumble. I mean, what can you do with that? I will say that in the beginning of the game, it looked like we were going to have, a running game with them remembering that Miles Sanders is a capable running back, but he did get injured. So just as soon as you start to get him involved and now he's injured, it's kind of crazy. And now that's why Boston Scott had to get some more reps into this game. Kenneth Gainwell had to get more reps into the game. But again, they're still leaning so heavily on Jalen Hurts. He accounts for 80 or 85% of the offensive snaps in the offensive game plan. The defense is horrible. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop a cold. They couldn't do anything, especially with Josh Jacobs coming in. But then Josh Jacobs was actually injured, so he left the game. So it was Kenyon Drake who ran up the yardage on them, and then also they didn't even have Darren Waller, their tight end. It was just all around, again, bad game. They will play the Lions next week. If they lose to the Lions, I will not be here. Just go ahead and pencil me in as absent. I've already made that same claim for our Sunday show. I will not be here if they lose to the Lions. I promise you. Just go ahead and mark it in your calendar. Won't be here. But last but not least,
I can confirm that she made this statement for the Monday NFL wrap-up show. She made that statement when we were recording on Sunday night. She
I'm
called
not
out
lying, guys. I'm not lying. If they lose to the 0-6 Lions and give the Lions their first W, I'm not coming. Okay. But the only other team that played this week and actually got a victory was the New York Giants. I guess the NFC East loves them some Carolina Panthers because the Carolina Panthers have to hate us. As bad as a division as we are, they have lost to 3 of us so far. I wonder when they played, if or when they played the Washington football team. I have to check that out on the schedule. But they took an L to us, to the Giants. To the Cowboys as well as now the Giants. The Giants defeated the Panthers 25-3. Daniel Jones was 23 of 33, 203 yards, 1 touchdown, 8 carries for 28 yards, and 1 reception for 16 yards that we'll talk about. Devontae Booker had 24 carries for 51 yards and 1 touchdown and 2 receptions for 15 yards. Darius Slayton, 5 receptions for 63 yards. And then Dante Pettis had 5 receptions for 39 yards and 1 touchdown and 1 for 1 in passing for 16 yards. So that 1 for 1 for passing for 16 yards equates to Daniel Jones's 1 reception for 16 yards. It was cool. It was a nice trick play, but again, a quarterback that just had a concussion where he didn't know where he was. He didn't know how to walk. The hit that he took after that was very concerning. Just to put your quarterback in that position is a little bit, I don't know why we're doing that, but the results were great for them this week. They got a much, much needed W as they have been having a tough go this year as well. But we say that and they're 2-5, just like pretty much the rest of the NFC East. So it's not that bad. We're all the same at this point. It was the first time the defense was able to put together a full 4-quarter performance. It started up front. They were consistently able to win against the Panthers. Again, we're doing this with, this is a perfect picture right there. That's how dominant their front 4 was. It was kind of reminiscent of their defense from last year. And to know that they did a lot of this on the offensive side without their main weapons. Of course, Kenny Golladay did not play. Saquon Barkley is still out. Kadarius Toney is out. So they had to do a lot with a little. Daniel Jones had a better game, but I feel like a lot of people, I don't know if you want to say a lot of people, but I feel like people are so excited and like, this is the Giants team I've been waiting for. I'm not that impressed. It is what it is. They had a good game. They won the game. I don't think it's going to continue. It's the Jets. I said the Jets, excuse me. Same difference, but it's the Giants at this point. They play the Chiefs next week. Yeah, we know how bad the Chiefs are looking right now with their loss against the Titans, but it's still the Chiefs. I can't see the Chiefs losing to the Giants. That happens. I probably won't be here either for that because that's kind of crazy. But yeah, they have, a lot going on in Kansas City on their own time. But the Giants, I'm sure, is looking to keep their momentum going and get a win. And it's a Monday night game at that. So it's going to be prime time and the Chiefs will not be able to live it down if they lose to the Giants. Yeah, they lost to the Titans, which is a formidable opponent, even though they lost in the fashion that they did. But the Giants, that's another story. But we shall see. Crazier things have happened as we have seen this past week. There's been some other crazy victories. Well, if you want to call it crazy, but just some unexpected victories that happened this past week. So I'm sure we'll have more next week.
Well, Octavia,
You talking about next week? You already tried to call.
I won't be on the show next week either.
Look, y'all better. Isn't Judy coming back soon?
Around here. Yeah, he's supposed to be back Sunday, but whatever. Look, I don't. You can't lose to this. You just can't lose this game. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying.
It's
All
like
right,
certain
Ray.
games
So
on
you
the
got, you
schedule,
already
like
see
you
that
can't lose.
potentially,
It's
y'all
gonna
two
be
can have
hard
it.
potentially,
Hold
we
it
have
down.
double duty
Hold it
this
down.
week.
Hold it down for an hour. Hold it down.
I want to make sure that you and I both are here getting this confirmation, this verbal confirmation that our cohorts will not be here with us next week. We gonna pass this on over
because
to
I
Keith.
mean the
For
Cowboys,
this
y'all
Pac-12
y'all
tournament.
play. Who do y'all play this week? I just lost my brain. Oh, play somebody that's
I
not
don't
good.
remember.
they play somebody that's not good.
Larry, they
So
5-1. He ain't looking.
you guys will win.
That's what I
You guys play somebody that's not.
It doesn't matter.
It's like
My
I
man
don't
said
know.
Dak
Let's
healthy.
see.
Don't matter.
I'm trying to find it real fast. I'm moving slow. This is kind of
Oh
ridiculous.
man. So
You
yeah,
guys,
Ray, is you
I
and
mean,
me
you guys
next
play
week?
Minnesota.
We can figure out how to split this thing in.
Minnesota's back, so I'm pretty sure you guys will win. And I mean, y'all play the Bears. They look terrible, so
Yahoo.
you guys should win.
They look.
You guys,
Yahoo.
if y'all play Trey
Yahoo.
Lance, just put
Yahoo.
Lance in.
5 didn't start. Yahoo. Five's not out there. Wilson's not. Nope. Been very soft. I've been consistent with this point. If 5's not out there,
I know that's
I'm
what
not
I'm saying.
invested.
Y'all need
So
him to
Jimmy
go ahead and play.
plays the Bears this week. Nah, James plays the Bears this week. None of Wilson's business. We move this on to Keith from the Pac-12, followed by our first break. Then following that, Ray's going to talk some Wizards because the last time we talked to you guys, it was literally like 48 hours before the official opening of the NBA regular season. So we'll see you guys in just a bit.
It's Keith back here. Another week to talk about the Pac-12, and let's get right back into it. Washington and Arizona played this week, and Arizona led majority of the way. I was pretty convinced that they'd be able to pull out the win. Sadly, they were unable to pull out the win toward the end. They had a majority of the game. They were up. They had everybody convinced like Arizona may get their first win, and then they collapse. There's times in games where teams who don't win often are unable to close out close games because they don't have experience in that field, and it showed that way for Arizona. Dylan Morris had 217 and 2 touchdowns. Terrell Bynum went all for 5 carries, 143 yards and a score, and U of A couldn't handle the force and the power that Washington came with in the second half to come back and come out with the win. Cal got past Colorado with no problem. Jared Broussard had another struggled game with only 28 yards. Brandon Lewis, the quarterback, only threw for 69 yards and 1 score. So you're not gonna win games like that. So when you throw for 69 yards, my apology, he didn't throw for a touchdown. It was 26-3. When you don't throw for a touchdown, your team already is in a bad position, and then when your running back, who you look for is your, how do I want to phrase this? Is the guy you look to create things on offense. When he's not going, and then your quarterback, you can't go to your quarterback and be like, bail me out. That's when everything goes bad, and that's when Colorado noticed this isn't our day. We're not going to win this game. Cal obviously had no problem. Chase Garbers put up an impressive performance. He had 225 and 2 passing touchdowns, which nonetheless is important by itself, but also tacked on 96 rushing yards. So that alone is almost 100 rushing yards with 225 and 2 scores. That's impressive for a quarterback, especially a guy who's not known for his running ability. For him to do that, he's obviously making a statement that I can do both things, so don't doubt me. BYU beats Washington State in a very close one, only by 2 points, 21-19. Tyler Algier, 32 carries. Just notice, listen to how many carries that is. Not even Derrick Henry gets 32 carries in every game. 32 carries, 191 rushing yards, and 2 scores. That is not something you hear quite often. 191 rushing yards. At what point does the defense not adjust and game plan around stopping the run? Because never should you allow 191 rushing yards, especially 2 scores. Nonetheless, DeLora had 257 and 1, so a step down from his previous game that I talked about last week. But Max Berg did continue his reign of things. He had 18 carries, 83 yards, and 3 scores. Still wasn't enough to bring home the win, but nonetheless was still a very impressive performance on his part. 10th ranked Oregon beats UCLA, but not as much as they like. It was a very close game, 31-34, but presumed first pick Kayvon Thibodeau continues to prove he's the best player in college football. He was a force coming off the edge. His quick bend, his speed, his endless pass rush moves that he provides, everything about him being 6'5" and just having pure muscle is why he just outstrengths defenders and then offensive linemen, and he's already faster than them. So you put a guy who's faster, stronger, taller than all of these guys, and he's proving why he's the best at it. Oregon's quarterback struggled though. He had 2 interceptions, but Travis Dye was able to have 4 rushing touchdowns. So that's why Oregon was able to pull it out. UCLA wasn't able to adjust to stop Travis Dye. Travis Dye has been very impressive without CJ Verdell alongside him. So he's obviously showing that he can do this without having his counterpart there. And he may just take that lead role when CJ Verdell gets back. DTR at 220, 1-1, so 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So kind of a meh game from him. He's been up and down this season. He's had some really good games and he's had some not so really good games. And when you have a game like Oregon, you want to be playing your best. So he didn't show that he can play his best. He struggled quite a bit, but also did charbon it. I'm always talking about how he had 100 rushing yards plus. He only had 35 today. So when your running back, like I said, is not having, I mentioned this last week, when your running back makes it easier on your quarterback. When the running back is struggling, that's when, your quarterback also is going to struggle. So when both of those things are struggling, just like how Colorado did with their quarterback running back situation, when both of those aren't going aligned, that's when the problem begins. 13th ranked Notre Dame beats USC, no problem, 31-16. Another bad game for Kedon Slovis. 299 passing yards, 1 pick, and no scores. So not necessarily a bad game, but when you're a guy who's presumed to be going to the draft, or when everyone views you as one of the better prospects, you cannot keep underperforming like how he's been this year. He's got to pick it up. But the one guy, they've actually had 2 very consistent offensive players. One going by the name of Kyanite Ingram. He had 24 carries, 138 yards in the score. So I've always mentioned how he's been doing his job on the offensive side. And my guy that I've been talking to you guys about since the beginning, who no one knew about and now everyone knows about, Drake London, 15 catches, 171 yards. This guy, when I tell you, when you watch him, he just screams off the screen, and it's unbelievable how many people have other receivers better than him when this guy is 6'5", has the speed, has the agility, elusiveness, you name it, he has it. This guy's impressive, and he's going to continue to show that. I'm not going to be excited when he comes to play ASU, but nonetheless, this guy is going to continue doing what he's been doing, and he will continue to play as well as he has. Utah fell short to Oregon State, 42-34. Oregon State's running back, B.J. Baylor, went off for 152 and a score. So, there's been a lot of running game or running upside for these winning teams this week. Obviously, you've seen all the teams that have been winning have established a run game, and all the teams that haven't were the ones who struggled with establishing the run game. But Oregon State's quarterback, Chance Nolan, also played well, 208 and 2 touchdowns. So obviously, the point I've been making about running backs and quarterbacks complementing each other, and that being a very vital piece in winning or losing these games, has been proven to be right. So obviously these teams should establish a run game and then build out to the passing game. Nonetheless, these teams are all improving week by week. It's going to be interesting who wins the Pac-12. Oregon and ASU are really at the top of the thing, at the top of the Pac-12. but nonetheless, they will continue to play. I will get back to you guys next week and update you back. I will be going to the ASU Washington game, and I will get you guys some pictures and things like that. Can't wait to be back next week. See you then.
Welcome back to the Focus TV. Special thanks for Keith for this week's Pac-12 segment. As always, gonna pass this along to Ray. How about this, man? The first official Wizards regular season segment. Floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, they're 3 games in, sitting at 2-1. You know, they had their first misstep of the season last night against Brooklyn. It just wasn't a good game on either side of the ball. You know, the offense was stagnant. You know, the ball movement that we had been seeing from them in the previous 2 games just wasn't there. They shot 39 threes and made 9 of them. So that should tell you how that game went. You know, typically when you have that type of poor shooting night, you know, it's just a lot of forced threes. They started the game off that way. Even when they started to fall behind in the first quarter, they continued to jack threes, which leads to the result that they got. You know, and then on the defensive side, you know, they just weren't as sharp as they had been. You know, they started off opening night against Toronto, impressive performance, held them to 83 points. You know, can't remember the last time that's happened. Then they played Indiana. You know, it was a bit tougher game. You know, 3 guys on the Pacers, they just had monster games. Miles Turner, Sabonis, and Malcolm Brogdon had 96 points between the 3 of them. But you know, the Wizards still look like, you know, they were competent on that end, you know, despite the huge numbers. But against Brooklyn, they just weren't into it like they had been. The communication was off. They weren't on the string. You know, they were giving up easy backdoor layups. And then, of course, you still got to deal with KD and James Harden. So, you know, that's a tall task in itself, even if you are clicking on all cylinders defensively. But, you know, unfortunately, they hit a bump in the road. And it's going to be interesting to see how they respond to this. You know, like I said, the first game, they came out guns blazing. They were great. Second game hit a little adversity, but still was able to pull out the win. And the third game, it was just a tailspin from the jump ball. So, you know, they're trending in the wrong direction. But again, it's early. 3 games in, we got 79 left. You know, I know Coach Unsealed, he's just going to continue to you know, to preach this defensive thing. You know, that's been his message pretty much since he got hired. So, you know, we did see improvements in the preseason in spots, and they started the season off pretty strong, but that deteriorated kind of quickly. So, you know, it's no need to panic, but that's definitely not something you want to see, you know, especially with a team that's trying to change the culture and put more focus and emphasis on that end. So, you know, they get a couple more chances to get it right this week. They play Boston, then Atlanta, and then they're back to Boston. So there's no shortage of chances to you know, to change course. Those are going to be 3 tough games, and it doesn't even get any easier after that. So yeah, man, you know, we're here now. But people, please, it's 3 games in. You know, do yourself a favor. Don't stress yourself out. It's time to fix everything. Like, don't trade Bill yet. Like, see how it goes first. You know, he had a bad game.
Take a chill pill.
It happens, man. Again, it's a
NBA
whole new
fans
team. They're
don't
still
do-
trying to learn each other. Yeah, like if you're gonna have these knee-jerk reactions 82 times throughout the season, then just invest in some heart pressure medication, man. That can't be good for your health. But they're 2-1. You know, we'll see how it goes. Again, like I said, they got Boston tomorrow, then Atlanta on the back-to-back on Thursday, get a day of rest, and they're back in Boston on Saturday. So, you know, we'll check in back with you guys next week. Hopefully it's, you know, they're still on the right side of 500.
Yeah, my bad, Ray. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'll just say, please,
Nah, you
NBA
good, man.
fans, this early, don't be like NFL fans. Y'all are nuts. Like, take a deep breath. Everyone needs to be fired. People are ready to set fires to buildings. Like, just take a deep breath, man. Like, I feel like y'all need to be reminded there's a 17th game. And then, like Ray said, if it's not healthy on the football side, it definitely isn't healthy on the NBA side. And I hope you're not a baseball fan if you also are on that level of up and down, because that's a rough life. It's a really rough life. Cardell's going to talk to you guys about some G League with the Go-Go and a couple other things. So go ahead, Cardell.
Woosah, man. But yeah, for the HBCU Round Ball Classic, you just saw a few intro videos and interviews that I had on the presser earlier today. Just some more information for you guys. The Coaches versus Racism, calling it the CVR. It's a 501 national nonprofit. They're trying to lead the charge to end systematic racism in sports. They teamed up with the Big Ten and historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, and for the first ever HBCU Round Ball experience. This unique event for this year is bringing Michigan and Prairie View A&M together to battle, while also raising awareness for like I said, systematic racism, inequalities for minorities. All the things we talk about constantly on this show and beyond. I'm excited for this type of event. Even being on the presser, it was the sense was right away that it's more than a basketball game, a neutral site basketball game. And, it's going to be even more special because the director, Daryl Wood, said that, they're going to move around the country. So this will probably be the only year it's going to be in D.C. for a while. They said next year they're going to be in Vegas. And then I think he said year 3 there's going to be in Houston. So, it's not often that you can get a program like Michigan, you're from the Midwest and the West Coast, to come here. I know they kind of come here from Maryland, but they won't play Maryland here this year. Maryland goes there to play. So it's even more emphasis and to go check them out, and also check out Prairie View. They were sick. They were good last year. I think they won about 16 games. They have some talented guys on their roster as well. You know what I mean? So they were one game away from making a tournament. They lost in the championship game of the SWAC. So it's not just obviously Michigan will be heavily favored, being 6th in the country or whatnot, but it's college basketball. We've seen plenty of upsets. We've seen plenty of coaches come with their game plan and make it a competitive game to the end, and sometimes they pull it out. So I wouldn't look past this team, but all in all, just come out support, especially with Michigan bringing a couple local products. Hunter Dickinson, Terrence Williams, Jamon Howard, being a former Bullet Wizards player. He's deep in the trenches here in the grassroots recruiting. He got another one, Doug from Paul VI. He'll be there next year, so it should be a fun evening. The game will be at actually the Mystics Arena, Entertainment Sports Arena, ESA in Washington D.C. Saturday, November 13th, and the game will tip off at 8 p.m. So yeah, if you can get some tickets, come through and check it out. The Go-Go. NBA G League had a draft recently, and the Go-Go, were active. They selected former Hoyer Rodney Pryor with the 24th overall pick. Then they selected Jakai Taylor from Queens University in North Carolina, and then they selected Jermaine Haley out of West Virginia with their 3 picks in the 2021 NBA G League draft. Go-Go General Manager Amber Nichols said, "We're very pleased with the selections we were able to make this afternoon. Rodney Pryor brings a wealth of G League experience and a veteran presence to our team, and his athleticism will help us on both ends of the floor. Jakai Taylor is an intriguing prospect who showed exceptional athleticism in college. Jermaine Haley showed qualities in college that we are looking for, coming from a highly respected school like West Virginia. All their experience should help us as we get ready for the upcoming season. Right now, they're in training camp preparing for the season, which will tip off in about a week or two. They start off early November, so as you can see, we will definitely be busy. And they announced their training camp roster. Obviously, it's more than just those 3 players that they drafted. The roster is highlighted by Wizards 2-way players Joel Ayayi and obviously Cassius Winston, as well as affiliates Jamie At Shanike, I'm not even going to hopefully ambush his last name, Jordan Goodwin, who we've seen throughout the preseason with the Wizards, especially Jordan Goodwin. We saw Jamie do work in the summer league. That's what got him this opportunity. And Jordan Goodwin, who was very solid during the preseason. Jordan Shako and Devontae Shuler ran out the Go-Go's affiliate players on training camp rosters. They're also joined by Pat Spencer, Kyrie Walker, and Bryce Willows. Obviously, Roddy Pryor, Jakai Taylor, Jermaine Haley. They have Shannon Bowes, who they acquired through a trade, and PJ Hardy, who was in the available player pool. And that rounds out the Capital City roster. They'll be joined by they'll be coached by first-year head coach Mike Williams. And obviously, like I said, Amber Nichols is in her first year as the general manager. So we'll see how everything come together this season. I'm looking forward to covering them.
We're going to take our second break of the night. When we come back, give you guys a quick DC United update. Things didn't go so well this past week, but they got some things to work through. And then, we have a little bit of time for rapid fire. See what Cardell has up for us. You're watching Focus TV. We will return shortly. Welcome back to the Focus TV. As promised, DC United, we told you guys in the midst of a playoff run, in trying to make the playoffs and how fluid it was in the standings. And they went up to New York this past weekend. And I think the best way to say it, they got punched on by NYCFC. They set the tone early. Thiago scored less than a minute into this game. Their attack, they were feeling it at home. And they tallied 6 goals in this match. And if it wasn't for Billamy making, I think he had 9 saves in this one, that 6 could have been 10 or 11. Just make things a little bit worse. But just for the black and red, they just couldn't get right in this one from the start. And the good thing, there's not a lot of time to dwell on it. They had to flush that immediately. That game was on Saturday. Wednesday, they'll be hosting Wednesday they host the New York Red Bulls. Saturday they host the Columbus Crew. Currently, that loss knocked them below that wonderful line for the 7 playoff teams. So now DC United's in 9th. Again, they're in the midst of the 5 games of 15-day stretch. What good part about this is, like we said with the Mystics down the stretch for them, DC United still controls their destiny, man. You're a win away from being above that line in the standings. 2 wins this week, depending on how the things shake out, could even move you from 9th to 6th. But they got to take it one game at a time, and it starts with getting to good starts on Wednesday and Saturday. So hopefully when I check back in with you guys next week, it'll be some positive news. But what they certainly can't afford is any more draws, and they definitely can't afford any more losses because they're still mathematically in this. And I'd hate to have to see you guys next week to tell you they've been officially eliminated. So the good news is, it's up to them, and that's all you can ask for. We'll get into, when that time comes, we'll talk about some things they can improve on in terms of the off season, how to improve the roster and things like that. But for this 2021 group, they still have a chance. So we'll see what happens. Cardell, rapid fire. What you got for us this week?
We'll start off with the little NBA. I'm sure y'all will love this topic. The NBA obviously announced that they were coming to the season cracking down on abnormal, abrupt, and overt movements to draw fouls, such as stopping on the dime and jumping into your defender that's trailing you to try to draw some free throws. Shooters leaping unnaturally sideways or forward into defenders, shooters kicking out legs, making other non-basketball moves to draw a whistle. To use Steve Kerr's analogy, NBA referees were no longer blowing whistles, award free throws, or calls that would have started a fight if called in a playground game. It's working. Through the first 6 days of the NBA season, free throws per game are at an all-time low. According to StatMuse, the NBA is averaging 19.5 free throw attempts per game this season, the fewest in NBA history. 2-part question. First off, do you guys like this, and do you feel it's good for the game? We're gonna start with you, Octavia.
Yes and yes, because I hated it before. And I'm sorry. I know a lot of players do it, but the one that just always sticks out to me is James Harden. I don't know why, and I'm not just putting it on him because, like I said, a lot of them do it, but his was just always just so unnatural to me. It was just like, bruh, like do something, like score. I don't know, but I hated it. Like I felt like it took away from the natural essence of the game. Instead of you like legitimately trying to score, like you're just trying to bait somebody into foul you so then you can go to the free throw line, which I get it is strategy in certain senses, but it was just, to me, it was polluting the game and I hated it. I love the new rule. I actually think it's even funnier to see people trying to reestablish how they play. Excuse me, how they reestablish how they play because they're so used to doing it. So it's like now they're so used to doing it, they're still doing it. And then when they don't blow the whistle, they're looking confused and bewildered. And it's like, hey, can't do that anymore. So I think it's great. I'm glad they put it into the rules, and I hope it stays forever.
All right, Ray.
Yeah, man. They had to do something because it was getting ridiculous. Guys going to the line 13 and 14 times a game, doing theatrics and trickery like that. That's not basketball, man. If you're able to draw fouls, naturally, then fine, go to the free throw line as many times as you want. But if you're doing something that's not even like, they don't even, like Octavia said, they weren't even looking to try to legitimately score. They were just trying to get fouled. And I mean, who does that? I mean, I get it, but I definitely didn't like it. I'm glad they're doing something to clean it up. It brings some normalcy back to the game, man. Guys don't have that advantage, if you want to call it that, any longer. And I'm glad they're being consistent with it. Even though it's early in the season, but like you pointed out, the free throw attempts are at an all-time low. And if you want to earn free throws, then earn them the right way. Don't resort to the ref bait and stuff because yeah, man, that's just not basketball to me. And if I was NBA ref before this year, I probably would have gotten fired because I wouldn't even call that stuff. Like that's foolish. So yeah, man, like, and some of it it's pretty much an offensive foul. If you launch into a defender, why would I call a foul on a defender? Like that is crazy to me, man. But yeah, so far so good. Hopefully they keep it up. I'm not sure what that what the offseason program was for the refs to train them to to kind of uphold this. I mean, it shouldn't even require training because you should already know that's not what a player should be doing, but what have you. I'm just glad they're sticking with it so far.
That's a good point that at least they don't call an offensive foul on you. Could you imagine if they did that? That would be funny. And they're like, instead of no call us offensive foul, everybody stop.
I mean, again, I'd be fine with that too because it's ridiculous.
Me too.
It brings like normalcy back to the game. Like every sport keeps doing this thing where the offense can do anything. It's the defense's fault. Like we got into a place where it's just ridiculous. I'm happy that the NBA kind of wound it back just a little bit. NFL, you need to follow too. Y'all are real NBA-ish like with wide receivers able to do whatever they want to a DB too close. Flag. How dare you guard that wide receiver? And we're laughing. It's something to laugh about. That's how it's been in the NBA for like it feels like the past 12 years. Oh man, I can't buy you. Let me jump into you. 2 shots. Now, you're not getting a call. They staring at the ref, and the ref staring through them. Like, man, that's tough. You should probably create more space next time. Or finish the shot. Or pass the ball. Maybe that's not your thing. I love it from the refs. The other thing is some of the folks that, some people keep like, raising up for their prowess offensively. The dudes who are really about that, this doesn't affect them in the least bit. The guys that are maybe not what you guys thought, haha. That's all I got. Haha.
Yeah, once upon a time, to piggyback on what Octavia said, once upon a time, people were even questioning is James Harden a better offensive player, scorer than Michael Jordan, guys like that. And I'm just like, hold on. Like the kind of calls he getting with a Mike got that. That's 45, 50 a game. It's much worse. It'd have been unfair. You know what I mean? Now I'm looking at the stats. He ain't getting those calls. He's only averaging 3 free throw attempts a game, and his average is 17.3 per game, the lowest it's been since his 6-man days in OKC when the 11-12 season. It's not by coincidence, man. You're not getting no cheap calls. You know what I mean? It's like Wilson said, I see Kevin still being Kevin. I see Steph being Steph. But James ain't, some things looking funny in the light right now, and that's what I've always said. People don't want to hear, especially youngins and, people who just favor this era because it's exciting and stuff like that. All I ask for is allow the same resistance that previous eras have to deal with, and let the chips fall where they may. And if the players are still doing the damage, respect. We can start putting you on the level with the previous players. But if you're making it easier for these guys to come along and do what they do, I can't put you in the same boat. That's why for me, even on the NFL side with the Montana and Brady stuff, man, like they've helped offenses in the NFL so much, from the quarterback to the wide receivers. They've crippled defenses. Like when we were growing up, you had to make business decisions going across the middle. I know my man Steve Atwater, you knew better. You know what I mean? Especially if you was in the last year of a contract and you ain't get your from the GM. You know what I'm saying? From the front office. You look. I love Elway, but short arms was coming out. If he's, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm just being honest, though. If certain safeties and linebackers was in the area, you wasn't extending. Because they could blast you. That could potentially be your career. The same thing in the NBA. Just why can't dudes just get up and defend you? I ain't saying hack. Just get up and really see if they can stop you. And I guarantee you, a lot of these dudes that have been putting up these historical numbers, they won't put those up. You know what I mean? And you start to see the effect. They're complaining. They're saying, the James Harden, I saw the press conference where they're saying this is targeting him and all. Like, nah, if you that dude, show us. You know what I'm saying? Get a mid-range game. You big, you 6'5", yo. You 6'5", 220, 230. Post up. Show us the different ways you can score. They say these guys are the most skilled we've ever seen, right? So they should be able to figure it out. That's all I'm saying. But don't cripple the defense. The defenses to make it look like the offensive player is something that they're not, man. Like, you're not fooling us. You know what I'm saying? Because every year these guys are killing the regular season, but when the playoffs come, you see certain guys disappear. You know what I mean? And it ain't just the guards. It's centers. Embiid. I don't know. You get gas late in the game, dog. I'm just saying. It ain't the same. So a lot of stuff is false advertising. That's all I'm saying. But I love the rule. I hope they keep it like this. Don't change it, and just keep it going. Hell, allow defenses, allow defenders to really get up in these guys, and let's see. You know what I'm saying? Then you will be able to tell the real from the fake. That's all I'm saying.
Also, the other rule thing that I like they changed is this. I'm so glad they stopped doing this. Because they was like literally at the end of the game, every time a player would just be like, review it, and they would stop and they would review, and it would elongate the game for so long. It's like now they're making them have to challenge it if they don't agree with it. I love it because it was literally just like you knew you touched it last, and just like, nah, review it. So that was another change I like too.
Exactly. On the NFL side, Mike Tomlin, he said, no booster has a big enough check for me to take college job. Former NFL quarterback Carson Palmer suggested Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin was a wild card in UNC search for a new head coach, and that he'd be a candidate if he were interested in leaving the Steelers. Tomlin made it very clear on Tuesday that he has no interest in leaving the Steelers. Tomlin was asked about the possibility of taking a college coaching job at the end of his press conference, and he said that there's not a booster with a big enough check to lead what he called one of the top jobs in all the sports. I quote, I don't have time for that speculation. That's a joke to me. I got one of the best jobs in all the professional sports. Why would I have any interest in coaching college football? That'll be the last time I address it, and not only today, but moving forward. Never say never, but never. Tomlin followed that up. I wonder if anyone's asking Sean Payton or Andy Reid about their interest in leaving the NFL for the college ranks. But then all but dropped the microphone to bring the press conference to an end. Just what are your thoughts on the speculation for Tomlin possibly being the next USC coach and his reaction to it? Ray, we're going to start with you.
Yeah, it just seemed to come out of left field. Like, is there a connection there, or like I don't understand how his name got through in that hat. But I love his response. Even if he was interested, that's the response you have mid season. Just go ahead and shut it down and handle that on your own time. Like you don't even want to have that be a thing. And the fact that he said this is the last time I'm addressing it, I think at that point, you might get some jerk media that'll try to slip it in there again, but just go ahead and dead that. And even if you are thinking about it, you can do that, after the season when the time comes to when you have an opportunity to move on. So and I wish more people would take a page out of his book and answer these questions in a stern way that leaves no room for interpretation, so they don't have to keep dealing with the same stuff over and over again, especially if they don't want to have to continue to answer those questions. But yeah, man, it really doesn't make sense for the exact reason he said. They don't have a big enough checkbook to lure him away, and yeah, it's I'm just glad he answered it the way he did, and it shouldn't come up again. And I would imagine if it does, they're going to get a response they don't like.
Wilson.
Go ask Urban. Y'all know that's the only person in the NFL that's worth asking about that is Urban Meyer. Secondly, Mike Tomlin is one of the 5 best coaches in that league. Why the heck would anybody go down to USC? And that's what that is. This is not Reggie Bush's USC. USC is not even anything worth talking about. It's disrespectful to bring it up. And Carson Palmer, I'm not mad at you because you just want to see your alma matter again. I'm not mad at you. You just threw a name. It was a hope. It was a prayer. I'm mad at the people that heard you and had the balls to ask Coach Tomlin about it. And you deserve the response that he got. And why are you asking one of the 5 best coaches in the NFL if they want to go to USC? Go ask Sean Payton. You're going to get a really similar response. And, yeah, Andy Reid, I really would. I don't want to coach Patrick Mahomes anymore. I want to go coach Keldon Slavis at USC. Like, are y'all serious? It's like when you say it out loud, it sounds dumb, right? That's why the question should have been asked. Hey, Mike Tomlin, I know you've never had a losing season. You want to go to USC? I know they just got you, Minka Fitzpatrick and TJ Watt, and yet it just sounds dumb, doesn't it? Like, it's stupid. Do better. That's whoever asked the question and then roll with it. Like their editor, somebody gassed somebody to do it. It was a horrible decision. Don't do it again. And I hope somebody does ask Mike Tomlin again because I just want to see the man's response. That is so disrespectful. Go ask a coach with no wins that question. That's
Detroit coach.
That's disgusting. My bad.
Matter of fact, go get Banjo. Get his ass up out of there. Yeah, he can go too. All that. Anything left out, like all that can go. Go ahead, Octavia. My bad.
No, I mean, y'all pretty much covered it. I mean, that's just laughable. Like you said, like, why would he want to go coach there? And like you said, the person who even had the gall to ask that question is, I don't know why you would. I'm trying to find like Ray said, the connection, like, what is it? Like he got a nephew that go to USC or like somebody, like, I don't know where it came. Cause like you said, it came out of left field, but like you said, like he's one of the best coaches in the league. He hasn't had a losing season. It's not like the Steelers are getting ready to get rid of him. Even if he was to have, a underwhelming season, out of whatever happens, because we still have some more weeks left, but still, like, they're not getting rid of Mike Tomlin, especially because the Pittsburgh Steelers keep coaches for a very long time, as we already know. So why would he even think of that? And like you said, like, Urban Meyer probably should be the person looking into it, or somebody that's on the hot seat, because there are a lot of NFL head coaches who are on the hot seat that maybe they want to take a stab at it because they're going to be looking for a job next year anyway. So they might as well go ahead and get a head start on it. But on the other side of it, I'm like, who wants to go back and coach college kids? Like, you've been dealing with grown men for the majority of your life in the coaching aspect at this point now. Like, kids are a headache. Like, ain't nobody trying to go back and do that again. Worried about, did you go to class today? Nobody got time for that.
Well, two things. They kind of do this with on the basketball side. They put smoke screens out there just to check the pulse of certain things. You know what I'm saying? Like if a team, let's say the Wizards was interested, all right, the Lakers, let's say they was interested in Brad Beal, they'll holler at some media members and just be like, yo, just write a report saying that Brad Beal, there's rumors that Brad Beal is interested in going to the Lakers, something like that. He might request a trade just to see if there's any friction with the Wizards and him, and see what, just to stir up the pot. And sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. I think that's what this is. I really don't pay no mind. And like I said, Mike Tomlin's a disciplinary, man. He don't play games. He ain't with the BS. I couldn't even see him coaching today's kid, man. Like, he would have they would transfer quickly because they would be held accountable. Like, dog, for the first time in life, these top prospects, I know he would get recruits because he's Mike Tomlin, coming from the NFL or whatnot. They already know, and he can get them on the fast track to get into the NFL. So recruits will flock towards him. They couldn't even handle that, man. Being held accountable, making sure they go to class, put the work in and stuff like that. And I don't even know if he has the patience for it, because he done lost patience with all pros, and AB, all of them. Like, look, you go, dog. Like, just go. You see what I'm saying? So I already know with a kid, they ain't proved nothing. Look, Greyhound, I don't care if you're in California, you can take this Greyhound back to Florida, find your way. You can go back and live with your grandmother, hope it works out for you. You know what I'm saying? So it just, and man, like Wilson said, Carson, I get it. You throwing a name out there, you know what I'm saying, what you feel the program need, but it also speaks to the arrogance of certain programs where they still view themselves up here, and the reality is y'all are not there no more. Y'all here, so y'all got to build that back up, and that's just them being stuck with the times and stuff like that. And look, Mike Tomlin should have just said, look, I'll go coach USC for $1 billion a year. There you go. And that would have just deaded it right there. Nah, we ain't gonna do that. Who's the next? It'd have been dead forever. Now, if it's for $1 billion a year, I'm pretty sure every Steelers player be like, dog, you're going to go coach them. We appreciate you, coach. You gonna go. Like, you cannot turn that down. What the hell is wrong with you? Matter of fact, I'm gonna retire or go with you, be on staff. Help me. You feel what I'm saying? So that's what he should have said. It'd have been a no-brainer. They would have did that right then and there. Last question for today. The Chicago Bulls. Yeah, they altered their franchise best start since the 96-97 season. They improved to 4-0 Monday night with the 111-108 victory over the Toronto Raptors, making Chicago the last remaining unbeaten team in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, they added some big-time pieces: Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, DeMar DeRozan with Zach LaVine, Vucevic and whatnot. And they're 4-0 for the first time since the Dynasty Bulls was running things in the NBA. My question for you guys are: will Chicago make the playoffs for the first time since the 16-17 season? Wilson, I'm gonna start with you.
Yeah, they should make the playoffs, and that's so sad. I'm sorry. I saw that little thing on Twitter, I think last night or today, about them being 4-0 since who left, like, or who was there. Like, that's crazy, man. That is like decades worth of just being trash. I'm sorry, I don't know. That's the nicest word I could come up with from an organizational standpoint.
Outside the Rose outside the Derrick Rose.
Yeah, outside of that brief, yeah, my bad. Gotta definitely mention that. Outside of that brief moment of pre-injury Rose, like that's crazy. But yeah, they should definitely make the playoffs. They stay healthy. I like that group they have. You know, Laker fans, you know, what you think of your former backcourt? That's all I got.
Octavia. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Octavia,
looking at the
man, your
standings
boo
now,
hat, Carmelo, he hooping out there, dog.
Man, don't get me started on him, okay? It pains me every time I have to watch it. I'm just like, do I really have to watch this game? I just feel like it's ridiculous. I just lost my whole train of thought. Anyway, I think they'll make the playoffs, especially, you know, looking at the standings now, like for them to be, I mean, yeah, they're 4-0. It's only, you know, a couple first week of the season and all. But I like the pieces that they brought. I think Lonzo has come along a lot. I think like sneakily that the success of Lonzo's brother is pushing Lonzo a little bit more. I think it's showing him like, you know, you always have sibling rivalry. And, you know, to see how much his brother's balling, I'm sure he's keeping note of that. And I think that's pushing him a little bit more. But I like the big four. You know, I think that they have a good core. And I think as long as they, like you said, stay healthy, because all of them have had health issues or injury issues. I won't say health issues, but injury issues at one point or another in their career. If they can stay healthy, just looking at how all the other teams are, you know, they definitely could make the playoffs. But I also say there's still some surprises, you know, out there, you know, that could possibly happen. But I'm really ready for the season to kind of get in the middle of it so we can really see who's going to be who.
Ray.
Yeah, man, that's I like that group. I like that group, man. I like how they fit together. You know, and they seem to have meshed well. But you know, I do think that's a result of who they have playing point guard. You know, Lonzo, he's a maestro. You know, he can direct traffic, and he just makes things easier for everybody else. You know, and defensively, they're tough. Yeah, I think they should make the playoffs, man. I think if they don't, I think that would be a little disappointing. You know, given them the big moves they made. You know, and it's not like they just brought like fringe dudes in. You know, they got DeMar DeRozan, of course Lonzo, you know, Vucevic from last year. You know, they got some guys that can really play. So yeah, they should make the playoffs, man. And it's good to see the Bulls in a good space again. Like Wilson said, you know, it was after Mike, they had a couple years of D Rose before he started getting injured, and then it's been a dumpster fire, you know. So it's good to see you know, to see them kind of return to a good place, and then, you know, hopefully that group can stay together for a little bit, you know. So you know, we rarely get to see teams develop, you know, and build something. They usually get about 2 or 3 years till somebody goes and chases a big contract, which I'm not mad at all. You know, go get your money. But you know, we just don't get to see teams be dominant for a long stretch anymore. It's rare nowadays. But yeah, man, speaking of this year, I definitely think they should make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they will. Because one thing that they're leading with is their defense. Right now, they're fourth in the NBA. I mean, they're holding teams 97 points a game. I think that was the whole mission. Get some versatile wings and guards, athletic, long, that can do a lot of things. You know what I mean? And they're swarming defensively. They're giving teams hell. And that's what they're leading with. Like, their offense is not even. I think they're ranked 20th in the NBA. They only average 107 points. So their offense hasn't even clicked yet. They're leading with the defense. And yeah, when you leave with your defense, you always give yourself a chance. So yeah, I definitely can see them, you know, making a playoff run.
I want to thank y'all for hanging out with us tonight. We enjoyed it. By the next time we see you, a whole lot will have happened because, again, NBA season, college basketball is like literally here as well. Cardell mentioned, the go-go, G League getting going and everything. NFL, we're not even at the halfway point yet, technically, since there's 17 games. We didn't even get to week 8 yet. We're just approaching it. It'll be a lot by the time we see you next week. So you guys have a good one. Don't forget to get over to the focustv.com. And just a reminder, every Wednesday morning on our Roku channel. Again, all you have to do is just, if you got a Roku television or device, just go to the search bar, type in the Focus TV, and then every Friday night at 10 p.m. on DCTV, and head over to dctv.org, and you can look up the schedule for the weekend because the show re-airs several times throughout the weekend in case you don't catch it Friday nights. So y'all have a good one. We'll see you guys soon.